And we are back with another episode of Cooking with Coach Hobbs. How you doing today?
Oh, it's a great day.
Awesome. Well, we are up on our 10th episode now?
Yeah.
All right, we're moving right along.
Absolutely.
Moving right along. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it, all right?
Yeah,
all right.
let's do it.
Let's talk about player position responsibilities in your offensive scheme. What will be required by each position? Let's start with your quarterback first.
Mental toughness.
Okay, explain that.
Yeah, they get the ball every single play.
Okay.
And so if you have the ball every single play, there's going to be times you make mistakes, right? You've got to be able to have that short-term memory. You got to be able to let it go. You also have to know that I'm going to work harder than most of the other people out there, meaning like mentally, right? I've got to study. I've got to do extra film work. I got to show up for extra meetings. There's always stuff that goes into being the quarterback and being the guy that touches the ball every single play. And you've got to have that mental toughness. Otherwise, you're going to crumble in the face of adversity.
Understandable. All right, let's talk about running backs. Now, I was a former running back, so this is very, very close to me. Tell me, what would it take to be a running back in your offensive scheme?
Determination.
Oh, yeah.
Determination.
Yeah.
I can never allow one guy to take me down.
Right.
Also, too, if you start getting hit and I get rocked a couple times in a row, right, I'm going to feed you that ball. And when I feed it to you, you've got to be able to get me 4 and score.
Yeah.
Right? Don't let a guy take you down. If you get rocked, you get right back up and say, give me the ball. Right. I'm going to get it back for you.
Right on.
Right.
All right, let's move on to wide receivers.
Oh, they're the all-around athlete.
Okay.
There's a lot of things they got to be able to do. Number one, you got to be able to block.
Right? Yes. Block receivers. You got to be able to block.
Yes, you got to be able to block. You also got to have good hands, right? Also, route integrity. You've got to know the plays. You've got to know spacing on the field, right?
Okay.
It could be a matter of 2 feet is a completely different spacing than if you were at a different spot, right? And it's going to set you up for success. I got to know so much about what's happening out on the field. You just have to be that all-around athletic person.
Okay, now what about your offensive line, your anchors?
Yeah, we've got to have that actual that we're focusing on, right, is our fundamentally strong.
Okay.
That's really what it is. And that really comes down to 2 parts there, right? That I've got fundamentals, that I'm stepping with the correct foot. My eyes, hands, and feet are right where they need to be, right? And then I've got to be strong. I got to be actually physically strong, right? And then we put it together. I've got to be fundamentally strong. Every single play, I've got to have strong fundamentals and know my alignment, my assignment, and how I'm actually attacking that defensive guy and what I need to do if they start stunting, if they start moving, right? It's all of that they've got to be able to do.
Okay. How important is it for teammates to be on the same page as a unit?
Yeah, we talk about it being 10 units strong, right? If we're 10 units strong, we talk about it, we're in a fight on Friday nights, right? Well, 10 units, that creates my fist.
Okay.
You know, we're talking about it offense, right? We've got our quarterbacks, we've got our running backs, we've got our receivers, we got our tight end nubs, we got our offensive line. You've got your defensive line, you've got your linebackers, right? You've got your corners, you've got your safeties, and then all of them play special teams, right? So that creates our 10 units right here. And as one, right, what is this little finger going to do? It's going to poke you, right? But all of a sudden, the rest of your buddies come around and we're making fists. Right? So we've got to be 10 units strong in order to walk in that Friday night and be ready to battle each night.
Okay. Now let's talk about brotherhood, right?
Yes.
What does brotherhood mean to a football program?
I truly believe it's what separates the good teams from the great teams. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world, and we call it the trickle-down effect, right? It's like you look at college, there's a transfer portal, there's NILs, there's all this stuff, right? You hear college coaches talk about that they're building teams instead of building programs. Right? Because guys will leave and come and go every single year. What's happening in high school, right? We're going to get transfers in, some transfers out, different things that happen throughout the year, right? But ultimately, when this time for the season comes, how can we take all of those guys and create that nucleus of those group and get everybody to buy in, right? How are we we getting them all to do that? And that's what we're talking about with our group, with our senior leaders right now, with our leadership group, right? Because that's really what's going to separate those good teams from those great teams, right? Everybody knows it and everybody's seen it, to where you've got a team that's got a ton of athletes and then they lose to a team that doesn't have as good of athletes.
I see it all the time. Yeah.
Really, what I believe happened is that they're breaking down from the inside, right? You got a lot of people with individual goals that want to get it done. It's not happening. Where this other team is like, we are for a common purpose. Our common purpose is just to beat all of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Your common purpose is to get your stuff and try to beat us. Right? You've got two purposes. We only have one. And our whole purpose is just to beat you every single play. And so those teams that can come together and say, we're just going to cheer on each other, because that's the problem with this world, is that everybody wants to focus on other people instead of focusing on the group themselves and be like, what can we do to get better as a unit, as a team? Just like we just said, become that 10 unit strong. How do we get to this point right here instead of having one of those groups outliers when we're trying to get all of our fists together?
That answer kind of goes into my next question.
Yeah.
Bonds, they build brotherhood, right? How can separatism destroy that?
We talked about it before, splinter groups. Right? People with their own agendas and holding out for things are always going to destroy what we've got going on. And we can't have that. Right? And that really doesn't just come from the players. It also comes at home too. Right? What are the parents, what are the way they're talking when that kid comes home? Right? Are they talking positively about the program, or are they talking negatively? Because if they're talking negatively, well, they're creating splinter groups that we now have to destroy. Right? So we always say promote the program, continue to do that, because we're going to actively fight to get it to where our guys can all come together as one.
Okay. Let's talk about healthy competition, right? There's healthy competition on every single team. But when you bring up brotherhood, what do you mean when we say there is envious competition within healthy competition, and also when one or more players may be getting more playing time than the other, that can cause a divide? How do you handle that?
I'm going to get a little biblical with you right here.
Okay.
Right? We're going to go back to biblical times, right? Okay. And I'm just going to kind of paraphrase some of the things here, right? So Proverbs 14:30 talks about that envy rots the bones, right? When you are envious of other people, it's actually going to destroy you more than it's going to destroy them. Right? James 3:16 talks about that envy causes disorder in everything that it does around it, right? It's like when you are envious of the people and the groups around you, you're going to create chaos in a negative way with everything that's going on around you, right? Mark 7:20-23 talks about that evil, right, defiles a person. Right? And what do they mean by that? It's like if I'm envious of you, I'm just trying to I'm either going to try to bring you down, or I want to be like you, right? When that's not why we were created, right? That's that evil that of me having that envy in you, the envy in me that wants to be more like you, is going to destroy me more than it's ever going to help a program or build me up, right? The only thing I can control is myself, and I need to be able to celebrate my brother's accomplishments, no matter how big or how small they are, right? When you do something good, understand that it's because I was there to help you do it, and vice versa, right? I was on the scout team making you better, and when you caught that touchdown, you run over to me and you walk over to me and you go, thanks for making me better, man. That one was for you, right? You know what I mean? Because I'm lining up against you every day, and I'm going to give you that work. Right? I'm not going to be envious of you. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to make you good, which is in turn going to make me good too.
And I hope every player understands that philosophy, because it'll get you a long way in life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because the world's a negative place. It really is, right? Everybody is envious of other people. Yeah. How are we going to be different and say, I'm going to celebrate the accomplishments of all of the people around me? Absolutely. When somebody does something good, understand that it's good for all of us.
All right. Everyone has a why. Right? Why do you play this game? What is your purpose? What do you want from the game? Why is your why important?
That's a great question that you're asking me here, and it's very interesting because we focus on that in the off season throughout the summer with our leadership group. Okay. What's their why? Like, why do they do the things that they do? And I make them answer these questions. Okay. And the number one answer they cannot give me is because I love football, right? listen, the pain we're going to put you through and the things that you're going to have to endure through a football season in the off season, nobody comes out and plays for us that doesn't just love football.
Right.
Even if it's not their first sport, we got a lot of guys that are baseball players, that play rugby, that do a lot of other things, right? But when they come out there, they also love football. Mm-hmm. There's no way you go through all the summer and everything we do if you don't have love for the game. So then we want to focus on really what's the real reason why you're doing this. And my coaches do a great job of that, right? An example would be like Coach Kim, who's been with me for 8 years.
Okay.
What he'll do with his groups is that he makes them write down their why. And then they're going to tape it on the top of their roof, or they're going to put it by their phone. That way, every single morning,
first thing they see.
It's the first thing that they're going to see, right? And so they're going to remember it. Why? Because what ends up happening is like middle of camp, when it's really the dog days of summer, right? Or the middle of the season when you're just tired and things, you kind of forget your why, right? And it's like there's a reason why you started this and what you're trying to do. And that's extremely important. My why, right, at this point in my life, because your why changes. That's what people don't understand. My why when I was playing is completely different than my why right now, right? My why right now is because I like to see these guys be successful. And I'm not just talking about on the field. I'm talking about in society, right? My greatest time that I have is when we have them all 4 years in that short amount of time that we've talked about, right? And then they go off and they become contributing members of society, right? I'm not looking for a thank you. I'm not looking for anything. All I know is that I had a hand in making that person the man that they became, right? And they always say it takes a village to raise a kid.
And it does.
Right? And I want to be part of that village. Yeah. That's my why. I enjoy seeing them go out and do great things with their life and then come back and say, Coach Hobbs, how's it going, man? And I love giving them a hug and saying, good to see you. You know, that's what I enjoy so much about what I get to do now.
It really makes a difference when a child sees that somebody really gives a damn about them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the joy that I get out of, coaching when I used to coach and being around a football program. You give the kids a reason of their why, but you also show them that you give a damn and you care about them. Not just for football, but just in life in general.
I'm glad you say that because we always ask them what's next. Because football's going to get taken away, right? It's a very short time you get to play it, and it usually ends with a loss or something that bad happens. I'm just being real. That's the way it goes. Unless you win the championship, you lost your last game, right? So it gets ripped away from you in a second.
Right.
So what's next for you? And that's what we push our kids to figure out and find out, and we make them tell us what's next, right? And that next may change as you grow up and get older, but we're always focusing on that next goal that you're going to have, right? So what's next when football's done, right? And if a kid says, I don't know, we start focusing on creative things that, okay, well, what do you like? What do you want to do, right? We want them to have those goals and start working to get to those goals.
I like that answer, Coach. Thank you. All right, here's a very, very big question that I want to ask you, and you take as much time as you want to answer this, all right? So as the captain of the ship and the head coach...
Hang on. I'm going to have to cut you off here. I'm not the captain of any ship. I sink ships. That's what I do around here. Just making that clear.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. I like that. All right. Now, as a head coach, everything falls on you. So when it comes to schemes and plays, benchmarks, landmarks, that remains the responsibility of you and your call on all facets. Can you dig deep into that? Because it makes a big difference when someone else has a different agenda and they want to do their own thing. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I focus on the whole thing, right? That as the head coach, that's what I do. I got to wear it on my shoulders, right? I know what I am doing is right for the program, the school, and this community. I know that, and I truly believe that because of all the work that I've done to get to this point right here. All the studying, all the people that I've researched, all the groups that I've looked at, right? I know what I'm doing. An example would be like when we're out at spring football. I always talk with some of my friends that I either played football with, right, or that I've coached with, and I tell them, hey, come out and watch me. And they enjoy coming to our practices and checking us out. Well, one time I had one of my buddies, Josh Rivera, came, and he's watching me coach some of the linebackers, and I had LSU behind me. I had Arizona State, UCLA. They were there to see some of our players, and they're standing right behind me as I'm coaching. Right? And I just continued coaching my thing. Well, at the end of the practice, right, he's riding with me, so we get in the car, we're driving away, and he looks at me and he goes, hey, man, were you nervous out there? And I'm like, nervous about what? And he goes, you had all those big time coaches behind you. I go, I know, I saw them. I go, but I believe in what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing is fundamentally right and fundamentally sound. So if I know that, I don't care who watches me. I don't care if Bill Belichick was right behind me watching me. I know what I am doing is right, and it's right for the program and the school and the community, and right for the kids. Like, I have researched so much on offense, defense, special teams, tackling, fundamentals for each group, that I know when we walk out there, we are going to do the right fundamentals for the kids, right? Because we're going to set them up for success. And because of that, I don't worry about what other people say, what other people think.
I was going to talk about that.
Right? Because that's the truth, though. I know what I'm doing, and I truly believe in it. And I'm constantly evaluating my practices throughout the year, right? And constantly talking with my coaches about their fundamental practices and what way we're teaching things and how we teach, how we become better educators, every aspect as far as coaching. So by the time we walk out on the field, we truly all believe in what we are doing because we know that it's right.
I was going to ask you a compounded question about that, about opinions, but it seems to me you've already answered that question about opinions.
Oh, yeah.
It really don't matter because you have a very solid focus and a design to, you know exactly what you're doing. You know the direction that the program is going, and you're going to go there while you're driving this bus, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Coach. Well, again, thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode with Cooking with Coach Hobbs. And again, like, subscribe, and share. And we will see you next week for another episode.